Hello, Southern Hang Familia. Once again, this is Neil Wilding, living my best life, joined as always by my best friend Sherman Brown and Craig Cotton. Unfortunately, 1/4 of the pod had to sit this one out. Brian Redmond's unable to join us today. But for today's episode, a couple of times this has happened where I share an artist or a band that I am just really loving, and then just so happens they end up coming on the podcast. That's happened a few times now, and this is another one of those special episodes. Sometimes that happens right away. Other times it's got to ferment a little bit, and so this is a case where if you were early in on our podcast, we're based out of Louisville, Kentucky, and a big festival in Louisville is Bourbon and Beyond. And they released that lineup late February, early March. And we did an episode, hitting on the big artists that we already knew and were excited to see. And then we did a follow-up episode and said, who are some of the artists that maybe we didn't know that we see on the poster? And by the way, that's one of my favorite days of a festival when they post that poster. And for me, one of those artists was a band that I had not previously heard of called Gooseberry. And I am so honored to introduce to you Asa Daniels, who is lead vocalist, guitarist for the band Gooseberry. Asa, how you doing, man?
I'm doing all right. I'm happy. We're happy to be found, even if it's at the very, very, very bottom of the festival poster.
It's not just the bottom, man. It's first. You go first. You go first, buddy.
Yeah, you gotta, adjust your perspective here. That's what I need. I figure we get to, open up for Sturgill Simpson and Jack White. That's really how I phrase this.
It's a big one,
It's Saturday, so it's the big day. That's for sure.
Yeah, I'm excited. I've never been to this festival. I had heard of it over the last few years because they've gotten some crazy huge names. Like I know, Dave Matthews Band headlined it last year, I think. And when our management told us we were going to do this, I was like, yeah, it sounds cool. Like I didn't have a good grasp of how large this thing was. And then our manager Sebastian sent me like an email with everybody and the poster. And I was like, what's going on? And then sure enough, within like a couple minutes of it going live, I think my father texted me because he's more aware of Gooseberry things than I am. And he's like, You're playing with fish? I was
like, That's awesome. So how does that work? How does that come about? So you mentioned your manager let you know. How does a negotiation happen to be on a big festival like that?
It's a great question. And one that I don't know I'm super well equipped to answer. I do know that we're very fortunate to have great management. We work with Dave Hart and Sebastian Moody at Powerline Entertainment. And so Dave Hart's been in the industry for, I think 4 or 5 decades. I don't want to age him beyond what he is. So Dave for that. But I mean, he's Ringo's right-hand man. Like he's been Ringo Starr's management for a long time.
And, I saw that you all shared a stage with them at some point.
Yeah, last September. Hold on a second.
Nah, no problem. Introduce them. Who do we got there?
This is Arthur.
Oh, big guy.
Arthur decided he wanted to be on the podcast also. Can we?
Arthur is welcome.
Yeah, can we relax here, pal?
Yeah, he's happy for you too.
Absolutely.
Well, he loves when I play guitar here with him. He does not love so much when I go on tour for 6 to 8 weeks at a time. Mm-hmm. But at any rate, we got to play with Ringo and his all-star band last September, which was certainly the largest crowd in person that I've ever played in front of. It was I think 5,000 or 6,000 people, which is just like a lot of adrenaline running through your body. Even if you know that they're like excited for you, but really waiting for Ringo, it's still like, damn, that's a lot of eyes staring back at your face, and like every movement you make, and like I don't know that I'm the most fluid human being in general, and so just having your every move scrutinized by 6,000 people is a thrill. But anyway, I think Dave and the runner for the big promoter for Bourbon and Beyond have a long history, and Dave's a big champion for us, and we're very grateful for that. So
it's a great. Go ahead, Neil.
Well, I was just going to say it is a great festival, and I was excited to find you, man. Once I started diving into your music, and it's funny. I looked at I looked you guys up back then, and like just within one album, I think Apple Music says you're like grunge, it says you're folk, it says you're punk, indie rock, all the above. And then I listened to the album, and it's like, man, like within like 4 tracks, you're hitting all of
Yeah.
those genres.
Yeah, I think another way to describe that is confused. I think Apple Music and the algorithms are like, are you sure you know what you're doing? You seem to be lost. You've taken a wrong turn multiple times and not found your way back.
Well, you hit my street. That's
Absolutely.
Hey, we'll take it. We'll take it.
Yeah, I don't consider myself in one genre, or listening to one genre. So I love it, man. I'm digging the contrast and the, as you said, confusion. But I feel like it is a focused confusion, if that makes sense. But you're capturing it. I like it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's an interesting process of figuring out what will work and what will not work when the basis or the foundation is so many different genres. So you have a wider net, but then you sometimes have to work a bit harder to figure out what is the through line for like a body of work. So figuring out what will go on a record if you have 15, 20 songs and they are in such disparate directions, figuring out like, okay, which of these actually belong together for what we're trying to say at this moment or to present to a new audience. And I think we spent some time getting there with our EPs. And so, I mean, last September is when we released our debut album, which is called All My Friends Are Cattle. And that I think was like the most comprehensive story that we had to tell for ourselves in terms of like introducing ourselves to the world and even to ourselves to a certain extent.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you mentioned before we hit live that you're based out of Brooklyn. Mm-hmm. So how does that? How'd you guys come about? Like, and those two other guys in the band, Evan and Will.
Yep.
You guys childhood friends. How'd you guys get together and start making music?
Yeah, we met through the Brooklyn comedy scene, which is a bit strange. And none of us are comedians. But Will and I were friends with this guy, Dekunle Samade. He had a big comedy showcase that he would do called Crybaby Comedy that they actually have recently revived, and we got to play a tiny little intimate show with them for our friends in Brooklyn. But basically, Dekunle had a couple of like comedy songs or even just like real songs, like a mixed bag. And he wanted a backing band. So he sort of like created an Avengers of, all of the people that he knew and that were his friends in the area. And I was one of them. Our bass player, Will, was one of them. Our buddy, Sam, who used to play keys and sing in Gooseberry, was one of them. And so we were his backing band first. And then we decided like, hey, we like jamming. Why don't we see what else can happen here? And yeah, kind of.
So when's this? What time frame is this?
So I think we all got together for the first time in 2018, and so it kind of. And I had a band before this called Baked Goods, where I was touring a lot at the end of high school and in college, like up and down the Eastern Seaboard. And so in 2017 through 2020, that was still my main focus. And then I was kind of just doing this other thing with these guys because it was fun. It was a good time. And getting used to the scene and everything. And when I started to realize like, oh, maybe there's something here and we got a bit more serious, that's probably around like 2019, 2020. We released our first single April of 2020. I don't know if we could have couldn't have timed the market better for live music. But so we released a few singles and, we were kind of out of commission from actually performing for anybody. But what the pandemic allowed us to do was we got a studio space in Greenpoint, and we kind of just shacked up there. And for 15 months, we're just writing songs, trying to figure out how we play off of one another, sort of honing our craft. Evan came into the picture around September 2020, I want to say, somewhere in there, because our first drummer had moved back to Massachusetts. And that was... it's just one of those things, right? Where we were looking for a drummer. Somebody told somebody who told another band who told somebody else who had friends from Orlando that happened to be in Berlin and like entering a nightclub there, mentioned that we were looking for this. We got back, like it's just one of those domino effects. Somebody mentioned Evan. He had like learned the songs ahead of time. I think upon our first sort of like few songs jamming, we were kind of like, yeah, this is it. So.
Well, the pieces fit together, man, because he takes over some of those songs. I mean, he can pound them, man. He's good.
He's a beast.
Yeah. So how's that work? So you release an EP out into the pandemic, and then you kind of working together. Some of the other artists we talked to, like they tour or just gig for years and years and years before they ever decide to put anything on streaming. Sounds like you're backwards, where you put stuff out there. Yeah.
It's a good question. I think that we see ourselves as a live band, right? Like we do tour a lot. We play a lot of shows. Obviously, the pandemic was a hamstringing influence on that. Yeah. We did in like 2019 play a bunch of shows as the first amalgamation of Gooseberry. We even had what I guess you could call a residency at a local Irish watering hole in Brooklyn called Harefield Road. That's an awesome bar, but we basically set up in the back, kind of looked like this corner, looked like a big hole, and just like set up back there and just play some music. And we did that like every week. So I think we did play a lot. Maybe it wasn't the extensive touring, but we did play a bunch to kind of hone in on the sound. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think we made a seriously conscious decision as to like should we tour or not for release music.
Yeah.
It kind of just came about, and I think because we play so much all the time, it's not really like recording then tour then recording then tour. It's kind of, you're always creating and you're always playing, and it's sort of just happening in parallel. And I think that's been successful for us to a certain extent, but I can definitely see why people would do it.
Yeah, the music's great, and so you had the debut, and then you had "Validate Me," which was another like an EP, right?
Well, hold on one second, Neil. So Asa, while you're playing in the Irish bar, are you playing all originals? Or are you doing cover songs? Like, how are you? Yeah. Especially every week if you're playing, back to back to back.
Yeah. As a shameless plug here, one of my favorite things. I grew up playing jazz. My father's a big Deadhead. I grew up like in the world of
it's the Fish. Now I'm picking up on why he knew you were playing. Now he knew why you were opening for Fish.
For sure. Yeah, all of that. I mean, we kind of go across the gamut also, but he's definitely a big Dead guy. Like set lists were such an important part, or still are such an important part of that world, and like keeping each show unique and different. But it's easier for us to do that now. Several years in where we have more music. Sometimes I go back. I built out this whole thing on our website, which has all of our set lists, and so like fans can go to the website and go look back to like those early years. Like I can pull it up here and see, what we were playing back then. And it's a lot of covers. It's a lot of covers to fill that time. I mean, it's necessary because you're playing to an audience that's really not necessarily always there just to see you. But we probably started out like 50-50 originals to covers simply because we didn't have originals. Nowadays, when we go on tour, we still play plenty of like breweries or event style shows where you're covering like 2 to 3, sometimes more, 3.5 hours worth of time. And we probably do about like 85-15 original to cover, but it's still like we'll play 4 to 5 covers across a 30 song set or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you're covering the Dead, one song will cover 20.
Yeah, that's true. We have not yet covered the Dead, I think, for fear of retribution or something. But we usually will take songs like from different styles, whether it's a Beatles song that will turn into like a blues rock song, or will turn Take Me to the River into like some mix of something, so stuff like that, to try and figure out how we can make it our own. I think one of the coolest things that happened on this past tour was a bunch of people came up to us at a show and were just like, yeah, man, a buddy of mine showed us, you guys have this crazy cover of Weird Fishes, which is the song that we love by Radiohead.
Yeah.
And that's like, we try and pick these songs that obviously we have to love and we have to feel a connection to. But we're also only a trio. So like you need to find a way to reimagine a lot of these songs that they work as a trio, where you're filling enough sound. People don't feel like they're hearing the actual song in their head and what you're playing and going, well, that's way less than that. And so I think, especially with Weird Fishes, probably more than any other song that we've covered, we've found a way to like elevate it to that. And so to have people coming to shows and being like, "Yeah, man, that was crazy!" Like that, how you guys were able to do that, and have it be something that draws them into finding the rest of the music is pretty rewarding.
That's awesome, because I know they
awesome.
even have songs they can't even play live. I heard Let Down, they don't play.
Is that right?
Because of the time signature. It's tough to execute.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, they're so great. that's something to aspire to, for sure.
Yeah, well, you guys are doing well. So you release a couple EPs and you're kind of marching towards the debut album. You mentioned you had to write a bunch of 15, 20 songs, and is that kind of the process there where you write a whole catalog and then whittle it down?
I think I would like it to be. I think I don't get so lucky. It's funny. I have a lot of friends. You do this long enough, you meet a lot of people. One of my like closest and oldest friends is an amazing songwriter. His name's Austin, but he goes by Smushy. And he actually just put out another record. He puts out records all the time, and they're all great. And I'm just like, I don't know how you are just like firing these things out. Like, we were staying with him in Chicago pretty recently, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go back to the studio and work on. I got like 50 or 60 demos." I'm just like, I got like 8 songs over the last 12 months that I think are all right. That maybe we'll figure out. So I know a lot of people who do the like write a bunch of songs, whittle it down, take pieces, and like make something that's greater than the sum of the parts. I tend to be a bit slower, I guess, is maybe the most political way I could. I'm just I don't know.
Careful.
Careful.
Yeah, careful in my confusion.
Are you the main writer for your group, or do the other two fellows contribute?
Well, yeah, I typically will write. Like, I'll come up with sort of what a structure of a song is, sort of the theme. I write the lyrics, melodies, and stuff like that. But Will and Evan are each writing their own part, and so what it often will look like is maybe I've got like a little riff or a structure that I like, and I'll bring that into practice. Or especially since I'm physically in Charlottesville, Virginia for several weeks out of the month, if we're not physically together, I have a little studio set up here in my office where I can track a bunch of stuff, send it to them, and they can then, in our studio in Brooklyn, set up mics, track some stuff, send it back to me. We can start to hear how a song develops that way, which is pretty neat. But by and large, I'm coming up with something, I've got an idea, a nugget of something. I'll bring it into the studio, bring it to practice, and they'll just hear what they hear. We'll talk a bit about what we think the song means, and direction or inspirations and stuff like that. And yeah, then the guys make it their own. And I think it's always going to be better in the end if it's the three of us contributing our unique views to it, rather than if I were to come in and just be like, I need this on the downbeat every time. I need you to do this exact part. Like, I don't work well that way, and I don't think that the dynamic that we've created will work as well as I think it does right now. And I think it's because we're each contributing to our own parts.
So you brought up Charlottesville, Virginia. There is that work related for Gooseberry, or is there a second something going on there? That's and if it's none of my business, then it's none of my business. I'm not.
My fiance is a resident at the hospital at UVA, so we are both native New Yorkers, and yet we found ourselves through the lovely match process of a medical program down here at UVA, which is incredible and lovely. Yeah. But it means that we are here for 5 years and not in New York City. So it's unrelated to Gooseberry. Fortunately, at least it's like pretty close distance wise. Like, I can drive back and forth in 5.5 hours, which I know sounds ridiculous, but when you're usually touring all the time, anything sub 6 hours is kind of just like, yeah, all right, I'll just hop in the car and do that. And I go back pretty frequently. There are direct flights, so we've found a way to make it work. One of the options was going to be San Diego, which would have been a little bit harder.
Right. Yeah, a little further. Yeah,
a little bit further. So
longer drive.
Yeah, farther drive.
Are you?
Yeah, we make it work.
Are you trying to get Will and Evan to have more shows in Charlottesville? And they're like, look, bro, I'm gonna need some help here from you boys. Y'all gotta come my way. I've got some great breweries and
Yeah,
places
right.
we can put on shows down here.
No, in their defense, I mean, we end up. So one nice thing about turning a potential challenge into something that works in our favor is that because we are touring a whole bunch and we do play in the South a lot, particularly in the Southeast. Mm-hmm. We can use my house as like a rest stop, essentially, right? And what's been pretty cool is that obviously we have our home base up in New York. We have my place here in Charlottesville, Virginia, which is about 5.5 hours southwest. And then my parents live part-time in this little tiny horse country town called Tryon, North Carolina, which is the border of South Carolina and North Carolina. So like on this most recent leg of our summer tour in June, we never had to pay for housing because we could, no matter where, if we were within like a 3-hour radius of any of these spots, which is most of like the eastern United States, right? Like it's 2 hours from Tryon, North Carolina to Athens, Georgia, which I feel like conceptually is like, oh, that's crazy. That's so far south. And yet we were able to do all these things because we kind of have little homes away from home for each of us, which is actually incredibly convenient for touring.
Yeah.
Yeah. Little satellite offices.
Exactly. Awesome. Exactly. It's all a business expense. We're going to start buying things and different, buy a spot in LA also just to write it off as a new office expenditure.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I noticed, so, we mentioned, sharing a stage with Ringo. I mean, that's awesome. As I listen to your music, and we've talked about this a little bit already, how diverse it is. I mean, you could fit into a lot of different categories. I guess that opens up the door to play with a lot of different other acts. I think I saw you were playing with Tanner Ursay. Did you do a tour with him too?
We didn't do a tour with him, but we opened up for Tanner in New York City a couple years ago at this point. We've played with country acts like Tanner and Grady Spencer and the Work, who are awesome. We've played with like blues acts, with like heavier like hardcore to metal acts. We've obviously played with comedians. We've played in all different situations, and I think because the music itself is a little all over the place, and like I don't want to be like too coy, but like obviously there is a through line, which is it's a guitar trio. There's still like an element of like alternative rock that permeates, I think, most of what we're doing. Like I'm not saying one song is grunge, the next song is like EDM.
Right. No, it's you could tell you know what you're doing. It fits very well together for sure.
I appreciate that, but I think because even though we have all these disparate sounds, because there's the through line and we know sort of where we're trying to get to, it lends itself to work with these different artists, and that's really awesome because, like I said, we have varied backgrounds. Like Will, it was big, like growing up, it's like folk, like kind of like the '60s movement. Evan and I grew up listening to jazz. Evan really big into like the punk hardcore thing. I obviously love like jam band, heavy grunge, that kind of stuff. So I think we run the gamut of styles, and I often like to joke about how this is really all just a ruse for me. I'm really like for Evan and I, we're really just doing this alt rock thing so we can build up enough cachet to immediately pivot and become a Frank Sinatra cover band. We'll just do like Rat Pack shows, just like a Michael Bublé thing. That's the end goal, really.
Like you and Andre 3000 doing flute.
Oh, right? If he wants to come up and collab, that's a dream right there. That's awesome.
Andre, if you're listening in,
now's
your shot. Now's your shot to get on board, buddy.
Right.
A lot of people know where Tryon, North Carolina is,
or Charlottesville, Virginia, or maybe just hit up Bourbon and Beyond, and we'll meet at the Southern Hang tent.
There you go. Oh, you guys got a tent?
No,
we're working.
I gotta get y'all a tent. Come on.
We're working on that.
Yeah. We'll see if we can play some strings there. I'm busy just scheming to try and get into like Sturgill or Jack White's trailer and just figure out if I can just blend into the surroundings, just act like you're supposed to be there.
Yeah, that's fully my plan. I got to bump into Sturgill in Mexico, so I've got a picture of me and Sturgill on a T-shirt, and my plan is to bump into him again this year and get the Inception
picture of you wearing the shirt.
That's totally the plan for this year. Yeah. So speaking of bumping into, now that you've seen the full day, is there Is there somebody, some band that you're angling for? Like, here's who I want to accidentally bump into, and you're like, oh, this would be amazing if I could end up in the same place and get a drink. Yeah, who do you want to hang out with?
I don't know. I think Sturgill's probably top of my list. Like Jack White's obviously a huge inspiration. I don't know if we'd have a whole lot to talk about. I'd love to hang out with him, but I feel like I don't know. I think he and Will would become best friends. Will went to school in Michigan. I feel like they have a lot more like kinship to them, and I feel like Sturgill and I would be able to like knock a few back and hang out. I really wanted to see the Pixies. I love Pixies. Dawes really cool. A buddy of mine played with them for a bit. Also, like just see some of our friends. Like I'm just looking at the lineup here. Like Top House, a good buddy of ours. We opened for them in DC a few years back. They're sick. Love everything about them. Even though I'm not like a Lord of the Rings guy, I still love it when they break out. Just like reading of Lord of the Rings at their shows. Like if you can make that work, you've got it. As far as I'm concerned. But I don't know. We also might stay for Sunday also. So I'm just hoping to just take in a bunch of music and just, stay learning, just like trying to figure out how these bigger acts handle themselves. When we were with Ringo and everybody in his band, right? Like guys like Steve Lukather and Colin Hay, like these are seasoned professionals who still find, or at least in the brief time that I saw, seem to find a lot of joy still in what they do. And this industry is chaotic at best and soul draining at its worst. And so if you can find people who have been doing this for decades and still love it and want to keep doing it and seem to be happy doing it and bringing other people happiness, like that's very interesting to me and something I'm trying to gravitate towards. And so hopefully I can find some of that at this festival. And if not, I'll just like steal a name tag off of trailers.
Well, you can come hang out with us.
Or that too, yeah.
I'll come there.
We'll
we'll find you for sure. We'll be there for sure.
Right on. Yeah, I mean, I don't even know when we're playing, so I assume first out of the gate on Saturday, if I had to guess.
Yeah.
Well, we'll be there.
Yeah, we will. For sure.
Absolutely.
Right on.
Yep. So you talked about on your website, which I dug into today and yesterday a little bit, the set lists. And so our fourth, who's not on the show, he and I both have a bit of an obsession with DB Cooper. And I saw that one of your songs is DB Cooper, at least it's listed on a bunch of the set lists, and I could not find that song. I went through YouTube, I went through Spotify, I went through all kinds of trying to find DB Cooper song, and what is it? Is it the top?
Fits the story, Craig.
Hear me out. Is that not the perfect?
I agree.
Perfect thing for a song named DB Cooper that you cannot actually, apprehend it.
Did it exist? Is that the right name of the song? We got a bunch of questions here. I mean,
we're gonna get
along with it all.
Break open a new bottle. That is part of the new bevy of songs that we're working on for our next record. So
sweet.
A lot of times, like I said, we do see ourselves as a live band, and part of that is working on stuff on the road and just, even with all the uncertainty, trying some stuff out on an unassuming audience and seeing what works and what doesn't. And that's a song that we've been playing more recently, probably the last few weeks, that I really liked. And
good. Yeah, I even went back in your old set list to okay, was this an old song? And are they fucking with me? What's going on? I
appreciate the dedication.
So I tried to go through and then got to it seems like it's in the last whatever.
How did
6 months.
How did you become obsessed with DB Cooper?
Oh, just the history and the story, and then me and Redmond, the guy that's the missing fourth, like to shoot texts and have you new show on? Have you seen the new documentary or whatever? And so we were both just
Were you a fan of the show Mad Men?
I watched it, but I wouldn't say that I know enough to know that DB was tied in with that. No.
Yeah,
I
Craig
had it
is
on.
he's quite the amateur at consuming TV, but
I see.
yeah, but
Well,
I'm all in on Mad Men. That was an
yeah,
awesome show.
one of my favorite shows. I became acquainted with the legend that is DB Cooper from the subreddits of that show during the last two seasons when it was airing, and people were trying to like figure out where the show's going to go, how it's going to end. I'm not gonna won't spoil anything, but DB Cooper was a prevailing theory, and I was like, well, who the hell is that? I don't know what that is.
Yeah,
Sent me down a rabbit hole,
yeah,
and it kind of just stuck with me ever since.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
And then you are coming to Kentucky, and I watched the Red Couch interview today a little bit, and y'all were getting questioned, random questions, and so one of the questions was, "What is your drink at a bar?" And you said you were a whiskey guy.
That is
So
true.
you are coming to the home of Kentucky, and or the home of bourbon. So
Oh yeah,
so
I'm very excited about that. I've been to Kentucky before. I like
oh
Kentucky.
good.
Kentucky's.
Okay.
I went to school in North Carolina. I got a lot of family in North Carolina. Kentucky, very close. Like I don't think people realize how close these things are.
Yep.
So I'm excited to be back in Kentucky. It's our first time as a band in Louisville, so that'll be cool. Hopefully, we have some time to check out some of these distilleries, or
Yeah.
I got a nice bottle of Buffalo Trace somewhere behind me, and maybe we'll acquire another one. We'll see.
Bump into Danny Wimmer while you're there. You'll be in the back. He usually has a barrel pick, and then he's pulling drinks off a barrel while he's.
I got to imagine if you are running this festival, like Julian Van Winkle's got to be there with you, right? Like you got to make him like a maitre d' of the arts or something. No,
There's a couple of good bourbon folks there that'll be able to educate you a little bit and get around.
That's
And
awesome.
try
I'm
to
here to learn,
they'll try
especially
to
if I
pull
don't
you.
remember what
Actually,
I've learned. I'm here. Yeah.
I'm saying educate you. They'll try to pull you over to one. That's what it is. The whole
Wow.
goal is to get you to one. They're like, this
Yeah.
is your new favorite.
Yeah, I read a pretty great book on the Pappy family. I'm trying to remember what it was called. Oh, Pappyland, and it kind of talks about, obviously, like the focus is on the Van Winkles, but it really starts with the history of how bourbon came to be such a fascination, and particularly, a badge of honor and a main attraction in Louisville, really Kentucky, but Louisville in particular. And it has all these roots back to like almost like carnival barkers, where this idea of like all of like the PT Barnum like big show, like a lot of marketing, even though the product itself wasn't always all that different from like place to place. And he kind of dives into how the Van Winkles were able to separate themselves to a certain extent. But I didn't know any of that stuff. I was reading through it. I was like, damn, I just like how warm I feel when I drink it. But this is great. This is cool too.
yeah.
I'm excited. It's gonna be fun.
Heck yeah.
So you got you said you've been kind of cooking up some new stuff on the road. Do you have a timing when you want to put the new album out, or are we just going to wait and see how that comes together?
Yeah, it's interesting. There, just with anything, right? There's different schools of thought on how to approach the streaming age.
Yeah,
I probably to our detriment, but frankly, I don't give a shit. I grew up loving albums. I love the idea of being able to sit with a body of work. Obnoxiously, I still use my record player instead of like setting up a Bluetooth or whatever, right? Like there's something to the act of enjoying a full body of work that I really resonate with. And to create something like this takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of debate and sweat and tears, not just from us, from our producer, Colin Bryson, to any engineers we work with, to our management. Like there's just so much that goes into it. And so I say that to say we have a lot of friends who I think they're probably right when they kind of just cut singles and release that and then just like keep building the singles. That's just like, it mathematically makes a lot of sense.
yeah.
We're like, for anybody who's listening and wants to get into Gooseberry, we're not that band. So what I instead can promise is that we will be working on a cohesive body of work. We will have another record, and realistically, the first tune or two of that will probably come out, hopefully, if all goes well, like next April or May. But we will finish the entire record before anything comes out, because to actually put in all of the time and money and effort and all that to make this thing, which it adds up so quickly, to not give it the best chance that it has to find an audience, to find people who will actually care and love it the way that we do in making it, just kills me. And so to ensure that we can give it the best chance it can have, there's a lot of coordination between, like I said, our management, but also, a publicist, our radio people. There's marketing to run, whether that is creating collateral for ads, for social media posts, queuing up, collaborations on YouTube, stuff like that. That takes months in advance to set up, and I don't want to rush any of that. And I really love the way that we did it for our debut record. I think it's like the most successful release that we've had to date. I mean, it's been out for less than a year. It has over 1.5 million streams on Spotify. Like, that is beyond what I expected for it.
Congrats. That's great.
Absolutely.
And like, don't get me wrong, I understand that like pales in comparison to plenty of our friends, but the point is to sort of have like the forward momentum, right? Like, I want to snowball a bit. And I think in order to do that for the audience that we are cultivating, it is more about being particular and careful.
Awesome. Asa, I tell you, these guys know how much I nerd out on music, and I just can't tell you how refreshing it is to hear an artist put an emphasis on a start to finish album.
Absolutely.
It is.
Yeah. I mean, look, we're music nerds too, right? I think that it all comes from that place. And like, I really want to be very clear. I am not denigrating any artist who is putting out a bunch of stuff. Like, I promise I've spent so much time down so many YouTube rabbit holes, reading everything I can get my hands on. Like, I want to be a student of not just this game, but this business in order for us to succeed. It's just that two things. One, you can read all of that, understand that the model is set up for mass consumption, therefore mass production, at the dilution of quality. Like, you can understand that and reject it. And then secondly, we as a band are very fortunate that like this is not yet our full-time thing, right? Like, I work in tech. Will does, like, he has a really cool job where he's basically doing contracting work where he'll build like sets or different like architectural design for people. And Evan has an office job too. Like, we can support ourselves with the money we make from the band plus outside sources, that we're not beholden to rushing to take a bad deal with a label. We're not beholden to needing to get the next thing out just because we have to, right? Like, we can take our time. It's a luxury. Like, I'm fully aware it's a luxury, but I have the luxury. So I'm gonna take the luxury and exploit it while I can.
Well, that's wonderful. No, I love hearing that.
Absolutely. And I do want to just shameless plug. We also have 1.5 streams on Spotify. Oh, you said 1.5 million. I misheard that. We just have 1.5 streams. Somebody listened to half and just stopped listening, but it's all good.
Yeah, I thought you meant that was me and Arthur 1.5 when we were listening.
Oh yeah,
there it is. That's it. Arthur's a fool.
Asleep now.
That's great. Hey, so how did y'all? I tried to look up Gooseberry today, and I find out that this fruit is banned up until 1966 due to some rust it forms on white pine. And I'm like, is there like a top secret thing this guy is trying to tell me to dig into to go down the solve the riddle?
Have you heard of DB Cooper?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, hey, I'm digging this. I am digging this the search I have to figure out to solve the riddle. Yeah.
I won't reveal too many of our secrets, but I will say two things about the name. One, we have been fighting over names for about 2 weeks before we arrived at Gooseberry, and it's a name that I was okay with because I find that people either really like it or really hate it. And to me, that's better than a name that people are just like, okay. Mm-hmm. The second thing is that have you had a gooseberry? They taste delightful. Like, I love tangy, sour things, and like it's very similar to a goldenberry. And I have an addiction to dried goldenberries. which I understand maybe some of your listeners were hoping for, like a rock star who's maybe addicted to other things.
Mm-hmm.
I like a good whiskey. I love dried golden berries, and I used to keep like jars of them that I would devour. And it's a superfood, which means it's great for you, but like anything, in moderation. And I was just eating them to such a quantity that I was just like destroying my stomach. So that has nothing to do with gooseberry itself, but I leave that to your listeners. Hopefully, they will go out and try a dried goldenberry and to experience happiness on such an elevated plane.
That's
Awesome.
awesome.
Or if you are a band out there and you've been fighting with the rest of your band over a name, the name Dried Goldenberry might not be taken.
Hey,
So you
I
might have it.
actually, Evan and I keep a list of band names. Should we ever need it for any other endeavor, or like one of my favorite things is that I'm a huge Soundgarden fan. Soundgarden did like a reunion concert before they actually came back in 2012, and they did like an anagram of their name, where instead of Soundgarden, it was New Dragons. So if we ever needed something like that, if we needed like a pseudonym, I've just got
Yeah.
like a list at all times. Maybe I'll have to add dried golden berries to it.
That sounds like my wife and I. Every time that we some weird phrase comes up or anything, I'm like, that's the name of my next album. Well,
Perfect.
we don't do any music, so I'll never have an album. But
Hey,
it's fun to. It's
So
fun
we
to
got a
have.
list. We got a
I
list.
got a list of album names. I just don't have any music.
hey,
Yeah.
you could lend that out to people. I know there are plenty of bands out there looking for inspiration. So
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's great, man. Well, anything you want to plug before we go? I know, the album is called "All My Friends Are Cattle" from 2024.
yeah, I don't know. I think we're about to. Well, I guess I don't know when this episode's officially going to drop. So I'll rephrase the plug.
Sure.
We are currently in the midst of our summer tour. Our summer tour, creatively named Summer Tour 2025, and the next round of dates are going to be from the end of August all the way through September. Obviously, we've been talking about September 13th in Louisville, but we're playing all over the place. We're going out as far as Denver and Texas, which are, we're playing a bunch of cities in Texas for the first time. And those tickets can always be found on gooseberryband.com, as well as our Substack, which is where the people who really want to nerd out about what's happening in Gooseberry Land and talk about DB Cooper, that's definitely the place to go. So yeah, I guess hopefully we'll see some of you guys on tour.
Absolutely.
Redmond's gonna be so mad that he missed this episode just for the DB Cooper references. I mean, that's half our texts just go back and forth on DB Cooper.
I love that.
So,
Yeah, forget about the music. Give me more
Yeah.
DB Cooper.
No, I'm digging the mystery we have to solve to figure your whole band out. So this is awesome, man. Your sound is amazing, and I love listening, so far. But now that there's even more stuff I have to dig into, I like the search.
Yeah, I think we'll probably over the next several weeks, because we have a lot of content we created from the June run, the April and June runs of the different tours this year, and I think we may have we might have caught DB Cooper, so maybe we'll get that up on YouTube at some point.
Or Craig, you might just have to wait, and maybe they'll play it at Bourbon and
That's
Beyond.
right. That's
if we
right.
Can plug,
Maybe.
if we can make a request, that's what we'll do.
Yeah. Well,
Dedicate that to Southern Hang. Yeah.
My job equates with where you travel to from Athens, Georgia, all the way up to New York. So I was already looking at where can I find you on the road. So you may just see me. You just made me see me pop up in the crowd somewhere.
I love it. Can't wait.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. Yeah, well, and certainly, we found you through Bourbon and Beyond. So that festival, Sherm, you've got the dates on that festival. It's September, what?
It's 11th through the 14th, but you listeners, you need to be there on the 13th. Clearly,
That's
right.
That is
the date. Yeah, bright and early, and then stay late for Ringo is actually playing that night too.
Absolutely.
Along with Sturgill, and we talked about the Pixies and everybody else, but yeah, come through all 4 days, but make sure you're bright and early on the 13th on Saturday.
Please do.
Gooseberry, yeah. Well, Asa, I tell you what, it's been an absolute honor to have you on. We started this just as a way for us to kind of hang out and keep in touch. And the fact that it's led to us talking to some kick-ass bands like yourself has been an absolute honor. So appreciate you coming on. And Southern Hang Community. Make sure you check them out. Gooseberry, everywhere you stream your music. And yeah, check them out live at Bourbon and Beyond.
Right on. Thank you guys for having me. It's awesome.
You
Thank you, Asa.
Yeah, appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Asa.